Standing behind the antique desk in the Grand Victorian Hotel's lobby, I watched my cousins wave their forged documents with such confidence. They had no idea that Grandma Eleanor had left me more than just the hotel. She'd left me 20 years of evidence documenting their fraud. Sometimes revenge is best served with a side of room service. I'm Isabella Morgan, and this is how I protected my grandmother's legacy while exposing decades of family deception. The Grand Victorian wasn't just a hotel, it was a piece of history. Built in 1892, it had been in our family for 4 generations. My grandmother Eleanor Morgan had transformed it from a fading relic into one of the most prestigious boutique hotels in the city. Every detail, from the hand-painted ceilings to the crystal chandeliers, told a story of elegance and tradition. I grew up in that hotel, learning its secrets from Grandma Eleanor. While my cousins Marcus and Victoria were busy spending their trust funds at expensive schools, I was learning the art of hospitality from the best in the business. The hotel business isn't just about luxury, Isabella, Grandma would say as we walked through the grand lobby. It's about creating memories, preserving history, and most importantly, keeping accurate records. That last part about the records turned out to be more significant than I could have imagined. Marcus and Victoria never understood Grandma's devotion to the hotel. To them, it was just a cash cow, an endless source of money for their extravagant lifestyles. They'd sweep in occasionally, demand their quarterly payments, and disappear to whatever exotic location had caught their fancy. Really, Isabella, Victoria would say, examining her manicured nails, I don't know how you can stand working here. It's so provincial. What they didn't know was that Grandma Eleanor saw everything. Behind her gracious smile and impeccable manners, she was meticulously documenting their every move, every financial request, every attempted manipulation of the hotel's accounts. The trouble started 3 months ago, when Grandma Eleanor passed away. The entire family gathered at the hotel for the reading of the will. Marcus and Victoria arrived in their designer mourning clothes, already discussing their plans for modernizing the property. We'll gut the place, Marcus declared, not even trying to lower his voice. Turn it into luxury condos. The land alone is worth millions. But when the will was read, their smug expressions turned to shock. Grandma Eleanor had left the entire hotel to me. This is impossible, Victoria shrieked. We're equal heirs. The trust agreement. The trust agreement was modified 5 years ago, the lawyer explained calmly. Ms. Eleanor Morgan had full authority to designate her successor. Marcus and Victoria stormed out, but I knew this wasn't over. They'd never accept losing control of their primary source of income. What I didn't expect was how quickly they'd make their move. 1 week after the funeral, they showed up at the hotel with their lawyer and a stack of documents. These papers prove we own 2/3 of the hotel, Marcus announced triumphantly. Grandma signed over her shares to us years ago. I examined the documents. They looked convincing. Grandma's signature, official stamps, even historical payment records. Anyone else might have been fooled. But I wasn't anyone else. Interesting, I said, keeping my voice neutral. When exactly did Grandma sign these? June 15th, 2019, Victoria said quickly. We have witnesses. I smiled. That's fascinating, considering Grandma was in London that entire month, receiving an award from the International Hoteliers Association. I have pictures, videos, and about 100 witnesses. Their lawyer shifted uncomfortably, but Marcus waved him off. Minor mistake. We have other proof. Like the falsified accounting records you've been submitting for the past 20 years? I asked, reaching under the desk. Or perhaps you mean the forged requisition orders? The fake vendor contracts? The embezzled trust fund payments? I pulled out a large leather-bound ledger, one of many Grandma had left me. You see, Grandma Eleanor kept 2 sets of books. The one you saw, and the real one documenting every piece of fraud you ever committed. The color drained from their faces. You're bluffing, Victoria whispered, but her hands were shaking. I opened the ledger. March 12, 2015. Marcus Morgan requisitioned $50,000 for emergency roof repairs. The money was actually transferred to his personal account in the Cayman Islands. July 3, 2017. Victoria Morgan submitted invoices for historical furniture restoration, totaling $125,000. The furniture never existed. Their lawyer quietly gathered his papers and slipped out of the lobby. You can't prove any of this, Marcus sputtered. Actually, I can prove all of it. Grandma didn't just keep records. She kept receipts, bank statements, and surveillance footage. She knew you'd try something like this eventually. That's why she spent 20 years building an ironclad case against you. Why didn't she turn us in? Victoria demanded. Because she loved you, despite everything. She hoped you'd grow up, learn responsibility. But she also knew you never would, so she prepared for this moment. I pulled out another document, a real one this time. This is a formal notice of criminal charges being filed for fraud, embezzlement, and attempted theft. The police are waiting outside. You wouldn't dare, Marcus growled. We're family. Family doesn't try to steal what rightfully belongs to others. Family doesn't spend decades defrauding their grandmother. Family respects legacy. As if on cue, 2 police detectives entered the lobby. Marcus and Victoria found themselves being read their rights in front of the same antique desk where they'd tried to stage their takeover just minutes before. You'll regret this, Victoria shouted as they were led away. You can't run this hotel without us. But I could, and I would do it better than they ever could have imagined. The next few months were intense. As Marcus and Victoria faced criminal charges, I began implementing the changes Grandma and I had planned together. We modernized the hotel's systems while preserving its historic charm. Every improvement honored both tradition and innovation, just as Grandma had taught me. The criminal case against my cousins was devastating. Grandma's meticulous records revealed not just their fraud at the hotel, but a pattern of financial crimes stretching back decades. They'd been stealing from more than just the family business. Marcus tried to plea bargain, offering to reveal bigger conspiracies, but he had nothing to trade. Victoria attempted to play the victim, claiming Grandma had manipulated her, but the evidence showed otherwise. In the end, they both went to prison, not the luxury minimum security kind they'd expected, but real prison. Their trust funds were seized to repay their victims, their passports revoked, their social standing destroyed. Meanwhile, the Grand Victorian flourished. I introduced sustainable practices that would have made Grandma proud, reducing our environmental impact while maintaining our luxury standards. We started a historical preservation program, offering tours and educational events about the hotel's rich history. Last month, we hosted a gala celebrating the hotel's 130th anniversary. As I stood in the grand ballroom, surrounded by the same crystal chandeliers that had witnessed 4 generations of my family's history, I felt Grandma Eleanor's presence. On my desk sits her favorite saying, elegantly framed. A hotel is more than a business. It's a keeper of secrets, a guardian of memories, and sometimes an instrument of justice. The leather ledgers that brought down Marcus and Victoria are now stored in a secure vault, along with all of Grandma's other records. Sometimes I look through them, marveling at her patience, her attention to detail, her strategic genius in letting them think they were getting away with it while building an airtight case against them. Victoria wrote to me from prison recently, asking for forgiveness and a second chance. Marcus hasn't bothered, his pride wouldn't allow it. I haven't responded to either of them. Some betrayals can't be undone with apologies. Epilogue. The Grand Victorian has become more successful than ever. Our commitment to preserving history, while embracing the future, has made us a destination for those who appreciate both luxury and authenticity. Marcus and Victoria's children sometimes visit, chaperoned by their guardians. I make sure they learn the real history of the hotel, not just its glamour, but the values of honesty and responsibility that make such success possible. Grandma Eleanor's office remains exactly as she left it, though now it's a private museum of sorts. The walls are lined with photographs documenting the hotel's history, including some surprising ones she took of Marcus and Victoria's criminal activities. She truly did think of everything. Last week, a young guest asked me why the hotel still uses paper ledgers alongside our modern computer systems. I showed her Grandma's favorite quote about keeping accurate records. Because sometimes, I told her, the most important stories are written in ink that never fades. The hotel's newest wing, opened last year, is called the Eleanor Suite. It features a small library displaying replicas of the ledgers that brought justice to our family. Guests often ask about the story behind them, and I tell them it's a reminder that true hospitality includes being honest with those you welcome into your home. Marcus and Victoria's old rooms have been transformed into a historical exhibit about the hotel's journey through 4 generations. Their framed photos are conspicuously absent, but Grandma Eleanor's portrait holds the place of honor. Sometimes, late at night, I walk the hotel's grand corridors just as Grandma used to do. The antique carpets muffle my footsteps, The crystal chandeliers cast familiar shadows, and I can almost hear her voice reminding me that every great hotel has its secrets. But thanks to her foresight and my determination, the Grand Victorian's greatest secret, the truth about my cousin's betrayal, is now a matter of public record. And that's the finest service we could have provided to justice. The hotel register still sits on that antique desk in the lobby, though now it's more ceremonial than functional. Guests love signing it, becoming part of our historic legacy. What they don't know is that bound in similar leather in a vault upstairs are the books that proved you can't steal a legacy. You can only earn it. Marcus and Victoria learned that lesson the hard way. Meanwhile, I'm doing what Grandma Eleanor always wanted, preserving history, creating memories, and keeping very, very accurate records. After all, in the hotel business, the devil isn't just in the details. Sometimes it's in the ledgers.